Just when everyone thought the real estate crisis was bad enough, another even larger time bomb was quietly ticking away. The new energy vehicle industry is following in the footsteps of real estate, heading straight toward disaster. Picture this. Years ago, Evergrande expanded aggressively, constructing developments everywhere, only to collapse under massive debt, leaving millions of unfinished buildings and desperate homeowners demanding their rights. Now, China's new energy vehicle sector is repeating this tragedy, but this time the collapse involves tens of millions of unsold and unwanted cars rather than houses. A few years ago, China was boldly promoting new energy vehicles as its prime opportunity to overtake competitors on the global stage. The government confidently pledged to propel Chinese electric cars to worldwide leadership, dominating the industry of the future. Yet, in just a short time, this supposed beacon of hope has devolved into a bubble-ridden Ponzi scheme. The figures are alarming. According to the latest report from the China Automobile Dealers Association, 73.6% of used car dealers are operating at a loss. In the first half of this year, the average used car price dropped sharply from 61,180 yuan in 2024 to 53,673 yuan, a decline of 12.3%. New energy vehicles now account for 36.7% of sales. Prices continue to plummet, reaching near rock-bottom levels. What happens to the unsold new cars? They are either relabeled as used and exported at a discount, or left to languish in car graveyards. Rows of brand-new electric vehicles gather dust, with their tires deflated. When videos of these scenes surfaced online, netizens expressed shock in their comments, noting that it resembled the unfinished buildings of the past, except now it involves cars. The most frightening aspect is that this is not merely a market adjustment, it is a destructive cycle engineered by policy and local governments. Consulting firm Alex Partners has issued a stark forecast. By 2030, only 15 of China's 129 electric and hybrid vehicle brands will survive. In other words, more than 80% of these companies are destined to fail. However, the issue is that they cannot fail, as local governments refuse to allow it. In June 2025, the Guangzhou government released a directive to cultivate 3 new energy vehicle enterprises, each with an annual production capacity of 500,000 units. It promised that any firm constructing a new production line and manufacturing 100,000 vehicles would receive an annual reward of 500 million yuan. At least 6 other local governments introduced similar policies between 2023 and 2025. What does this entail? It means that even as companies hemorrhage money, governments continue to support them with land grants, subsidies, and loans, compelling them to press forward. Consequently, China's automotive market has developed a peculiar pattern. Companies incur losses, governments provide subsidies, companies expand production, the market becomes oversaturated, companies suffer greater losses, and governments subsidize once more. It is akin to injecting adrenaline into a terminally ill patient. Eventually the system will rupture. Data from the Gasgoo Automotive Research Institute indicate that in 2024, Chinese automakers possessed a production capacity of 55 million vehicles, twice the actual output. In the first 4 months of 2025, new energy vehicle inventories surged from 660,000 to 850,000 units, expanding at a rate 3.2 times faster than end-user sales. In essence, China's auto market is no longer simply struggling to sell, it is utterly incapable of doing so. On social media, numerous videos show 0-kilometer used cars being liquidated. These vehicles, fresh from the assembly line, are subjected to steep discounts. Some are even treated as scrap and shipped abroad. More absurdly, many new cars are simply parked in vacant lots exposed to the elements and left to become lifeless hulks. This evokes memories of the ghost towns filled with empty homes during the 2008 US subprime crisis. Yet China's situation is more severe. Not a few hundred houses, but millions of cars. To stay afloat, automakers have engaged in a ruthless price war. Electric vehicles that once cost hundreds of thousands of yuan are now priced at single-digit figures, akin to bargain commodities. In 2025, the starting price for Chinese electric cars fell below $10,000. By contrast, in the US market, electric vehicles under $35,000 remain scarce. One might assume low prices are beneficial, but that is mistaken. This price war has not fostered genuine consumer growth. Instead, it has left companies hemorrhaging capital. Xpeng Motors CEO He Xiaopeng stated as early as 2023 that by 2030, a car company would need annual sales of 3 million vehicles to endure. In reality, Xpeng sold only 190,000 units in 2024, not even a fraction of that threshold. Automakers are caught in a bind. Without price cuts, sales stall. With price cuts, they lose money on each transaction. Halting production leads to cash flow depletion and certain demise. This is why Sany Heavy Trucks chairman Liang Linhe remarked helplessly that manufacturing cars is like riding a bicycle. One must keep pedaling or risk falling. The trouble is that Chinese automakers are pedaling exhaustively, yet they face an insurmountable wall ahead. Why do local governments strive so desperately to sustain the market? The answer lies in taxes and employment. Should automakers fail, widespread layoffs, reduced tax revenues, and debt defaults would directly undermine local finances. Within China's system, local governments dread social instability above all. Thus, even if companies are losing money to their core, they are artificially prolonged, a scenario mirroring the real estate crisis, where local governments depended on land revenues and prevented developers from collapsing, only to exacerbate the rot and precipitate a national catastrophe. Today, the automotive sector is replicating the same flawed logic. Whereas real estate's unfinished projects burdened ordinary citizens, the auto industry's overcapacity will weigh on the entire Chinese economy. Do not assume this is merely the market self-destructing. The true orchestrators are the local governments. Reviewing the timeline, in 2009, Beijing began vigorously advancing new energy vehicles, allocating tens of billions of dollars in subsidies to fabricate demand. In 2017, it outlined an automotive industry blueprint, targeting 35 million vehicles annually by 2025, nearly double the US sales record. At that juncture, real estate was overheating amid tightening controls, so the auto sector was elevated as the new economic foundation. Local governments' rationale was stark. With restrictions curbing land sales and property taxes, they required the auto industry to bolster fiscal revenues. Accordingly, they offered land at discounted or even unprofitable rates to automakers, provided it attracted investment, enhanced GDP, and generated jobs, regardless of the company's profitability. For instance, in 2021, Anhui's Changfeng County sold 8.3 square kilometers of land to BYD at 40% below market value. In 2022, Xiaomi acquired land in Beijing's Yizhuang district at prices 22% lower than other industrial parcels, contingent on the factory achieving 47 billion yuan in annual revenue. These land policies resemble past government-driven economic campaigns, yielding short-term statistical gains while embedding vast, unmanageable overcapacity. Many believe Chinese automakers are innovating, but in truth, they are ensnared in a cycle of financing, expansion, and further financing amid losses. The statistics are startling. From 2014 to 2019, over 60 new automakers entered the fray, but now only a few, such as Li Auto, NIO, Xpeng, Leapmotor, and Xiaomi, remain viable. The defunct firms left behind 3.89 million units of production capacity and squandered 107 billion yuan in financing, nearly all of it irretrievable. This parallels Evergrande, which profited not from home sales but from borrowing to repay prior debts, until the chain snapped and the Ponzi scheme imploded. Automakers follow suit. They derive no profit from vehicle sales, but rely on financing, subsidies, and policy safeguards. Once funding ceases, a cascade of bankruptcies looms. Envision dozens of automakers failing simultaneously, with millions of workers unemployed and trillions in bad debts festering on bank ledgers. What employment crisis would China confront? The automotive supply chain, encompassing design, components, dealerships, repair facilities, and logistics, would disintegrate, depriving millions of their livelihoods. In a financial meltdown, innumerable automaker loans would default, spiking bank bad debts and halting the debt momentum. Consumption would crater as car prices plunge, eroding confidence and rendering vehicles negative assets. Local government finances would detonate, saddled with debts from supporting automakers. This is the most terrifying facet of the auto sector's Evergrande equivalent. It transcends industry woes to become a systemic crisis. Real estate has already hampered China's economy for a decade, and now new energy vehicles may detonate next. Many cling to the notion that Chinese electric cars retain potential, with overseas exports as a lifeline. However, the global market cannot absorb China's excessive capacity. Europe, the US, and Japan are imposing higher tariffs and technical barriers. Markets in Southeast Asia and India are constrained, unable to ingest the millions of vehicles China is offloading. Vast quantities of zero-kilometer used cars are disposed of like scrap metal, yielding negligible profits. In the past, Chinese citizens viewed homes as emblems of wealth. Today, new energy vehicles are marketed as China's path to global supremacy. Yet the reality is that homes became derelict shells, cars accumulate in graveyards, and the vaunted Chinese dream lies in ruins. China's overcapacity represents a systemic affliction, not confined to automobiles, but rooted in its economic paradigm, which favors investment, subsidies, and borrowing over authentic demand and market principles. Real estate imploded, automobiles assumed the burden, and when automobiles implode, what follows? Solar panels, semiconductors, or steel. History demonstrates repeatedly that when a nation employs bubbles to conceal its troubles, only greater ruin awaits. China's automotive rendition of Evergrande approaches its explosive threshold, and that detonation will not only fracture the Chinese economy, but also reveal a harsh truth to the world. The so-called Chinese miracle is merely an illusion erected upon graveyards of cars. Thanks for watching and joining us on this journey to unveil China's many layers. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and hit that subscribe button to stay updated. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching and joining us on this journey to unveil China's many layers. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and hit that subscribe button to stay updated. See you in the next video.